Hi, my name is Dale Taylor, and welcome to Other New Technologies, Chapter 24 of our text. In this video, we're going to talk about emerging technologies that didn't quite warrant a full chapter of their own in our textbook. We're going to look at virtual, augmented, and mixed reality, drones, the sharing economy, mobile commerce, and virtual currency. Now, one of the things that I hope you'll see as we go through here is how some of these technologies are actually relying and are almost dependent upon each other to be successful. The first technology we're going to talk about is this virtual reality, augmented reality, and mixed reality. Virtual reality is just pretty much a big computer simulation where you're viewing an environment that's completely made up and being run from a computer or other device. You wear a headset and sometimes headphones and sometimes mobile controllers like the Oculus Rift or the HTC Vive, and you can interact with those objects in your virtual world. I remember using a virtual reality device in a game when I was in college in 1994. It was quite the experience. They're being used for games now, but also for other uses. One of them is medical treatments. There's a medical hospital in London who uses virtual reality headsets to trigger episodes in bipolar patients so they can start to recognize what their triggers are and then begin the treatment. Augmented reality is virtual objects overlaid on top of a real world setting. Think IKEA and Amazon. You can take your phone, use their app, take a dresser or a shelf that you're looking at buying, and then be able to point that at a plate on a wall in your living room and be able to see how that particular piece of furniture would look. I've done it a couple times to varying degrees of success, and you get an idea for whether it'll fit and whether to kind of go with the rest of your decor. Also, there's being used in tourism industry. I've seen a video recently of a bus stop where the glass on one side looks normal, but on the other side, you're looking through it and you can see the reality, the real life space on the other side. But then all of a sudden, it starts showing you dinosaurs or tidal waves or other monsters coming towards you, and it allows the viewer to start interacting with the real world set with reality and this augmented reality. Now, mixed reality is trying to bridge the gap between virtual and augmented. So in this one, you're able to view real, take simulated images. Think of a medical student that's able to view a hologram of a body uh, floating in the air or laying on a table, and be able to start the dissection process or examination process without having to worry about obstruction or heaven forbid the smell. And so they're able to incorporate this technology into their education process to enhance the ability of doctors to learn. It's also being used on assembly lines when there's a problem. Workers will are able to pull up a set of directions or schematics and interact with those schematics while they continue to work and manipulate them to help solve their problem and move on. Now, one of the biggest leaders in this mixed reality world is Google HoloLens. The Google HoloLens is really expensive, but it's one of the technologies that's being used on a commercial level to allow this interaction with virtual objects in the real world. And it is going to have a big impact according to the experts. Now, the last one I'd like to mention real quickly is the Google contact lenses. Again, contact lenses that don't have to, you won't have to wear a headset, but it will allow you to be able to interact with virtual items that you can call up, such as, again, a schematic, or call up healthcare data that's being read by the contact lenses in your body. The next technology is drones. Drones were initially developed by and for the military um, to be unmanned vehicles for reconnaissance, and then as they developed, also to deliver missile strikes. Today, they're used from everything from agriculture to security to recreation. Some of the things with drones you have to be concerned with is if it's over half a pound, you have to register with the FAA. You have to stay under a 400-foot flight ceiling, and you have to maintain a line of sight. All pretty common stuff, but when drones first hit the commercial market, it wasn't always so. People were flying these, as you know, into airports, uh, flying them in no-fly zones. In fact, in Washington, D.C., the entire district is a no-fly zone for drones because of safety concerns. And in my line of work, one of the things that we are so worried about is someone being able to take a drone, put a virus or a bacteria on there, and take that and make it a payload delivery system. And how do you defend against that? It's very hard. So the technology has a lot of good uses and also some nefarious uses. And some of the concerns, as you can see here, spying on your neighbors, we've all heard of drones being shot down or knocked out of the air because they're flying into the neighbor's yard, which is actually illegal, not only to fly them in around your neighbor's yard or neighbors, but also to shoot them down or knock them out of the air. And one of the reasons for all the regulations from the FAA was that there were 700 near misses with aircraft in 2015, quite a few. And so they were really worried that as the number of drones increased, I think in 2015 there were about 30,000, as they start to increase, there's going to be more and more. And just recently, about 3 weeks ago, I heard of the airport in Newark, New Jersey being shut down because of drones being on or near the airfield. Our next technology is the sharing economy. When I was reading about this in the textbook, I hadn't really thought about it in terms of the word sharing economy. I mean, I've heard of all the examples, as I'm sure you have. But when I started looking at it, it is basically just a sharing of resources. You have something I want. It can be tangible or intangible, like a ride with Lyft or Uber, and I'm going to pay you to take me somewhere through an app. And it's really cutting out the middleman, and these technologies are being very disruptive to traditional businesses because of the reliance on technology. You're able to cut out the middleman and order a ride anywhere you want to go through an app and pay the person. And you don't even have to carry money with you like you do with a taxi or even your credit cards. You just pay them when you open the app up the next time. One of the interesting ones, one of my favorites is Kickstarter. Kickstarter is a crowdfunding source that allows inventors and entrepreneurs to have a technology they want to bring to market but don't have the funds. So you're able to put this technology up on the site, and then if you get enough interest, people will invest in your project and allow you to bring it to market. And in return, you give them a deal on whatever product that you are trying to bring to market. And also another interesting one down there is the intangibles is the knowledge and talent sharing. I've used some apps to have people come to my house and provide work for me without going through a normal business where I have to call them on the phone. I've used an app to have them come to the house, do some yard work or do some repairs on the house. And it works out, again, very quickly because I'm able to pay them through the app in most cases. And I don't have to worry about my credit cards or having cash on hand or sending my wife to the ATM. Another example that is really interesting is peer-to-peer lending because when peer-to-peer lending, you're taking out the middleman, you're taking out banks completely, and you're able to get loans from private individuals who are willing to share the risk of giving a personal loan. And this is really good for people who don't have a lot of resources and may not have a lot of assets to put up as collateral. Now, one of the problems with this, with the sharing economy, or the gig economy as it's also known as, is that people aren't getting benefits. They're not real employees per se. They're kind of consultants or part-time employees, so they don't have benefits, which is going to have an effect as we move forward, especially if you think about the terms of healthcare. Healthcare costs are increasing, and these people are able to pick up extra money, uh, and just in the government shutdown in the DC area, in January, a lot of laid off government employees, furloughed employees, started driving for Uber and Lyft to earn extra money. Now, they provided them some pocket change, but at the end of the day, they had no real benefits because they're not employees. And again, what happens to traditional businesses? Now, we might think that it's great for business because it's driving down prices because we're able to get something now for a reduced cost without having to go through a middleman. But how do we replace the revenue that's lost from traditional businesses? What happens to those workers that are working in these establishments as the sharing economy continues to grow? And grow it will, because it relies on quite a bit on being able to on mobile commerce and virtual currency. Or mobile commerce is again just another way of thinking of e-commerce. It basically has three platforms: mobile banking, app purchases, and mobile wallets. Mobile banking, I'm sure most of you have a bank that has an app that allows you to take a picture of a check and deposit it into your account without having to drive to the bank. Um, I'm a retired Army, and so when my bank first came up with this technology about 7 to 10 years ago, I was overjoyed because my bank was in Texas with no local branches, and so I'd always have to mail my checks in before I could get the money into my account. And in-app purchases, how many of us have played Candy Crush or some other type of game or made purchases in some type of other apps that allows us to get something of value in exchange for uh, linking it to our credit card or our checking account? And if you know, you've seen these devices at the grocery stores and gas stations and other businesses, mobile wallets with Samsung Pay, Google Pay, Apple Pay, all of them or Google Wallet trying to link your credit card to your phone. Then it uses a near field communication signal to pay for the transaction at the point of sale in the business. Now, virtual currency is a very interesting concept, and I'll be honest, it's one that I don't completely understand because it's something that doesn't exist, but yet a group of people decide it has value, and so now all of a sudden, something that didn't exist has value, and people are trading on it, buying and selling goods in the real world, even though it doesn't exist. You can't touch it. You can't go down to the bank and say, hey, give me my Bitcoin. It doesn't exist. So again, one of the big examples of virtual currencies are Bitcoins. If you remember the Bitcoin craze, Bitcoins were worth quite a bit of money 5 or 6 years ago. In the last couple of years, the value of a Bitcoin has dropped exponentially to where it's really not a viable currency. So it's going to be interesting to see how virtual currencies are able to, or if they're able to replace hard currency like dollars or the gold standard. So my question to you is, which emerging technology do you most look forward to, and why? It could be one of the technologies we talked about here, or another technology that you're tracking because you have a particular interest. Again, I hope you were able to get something out of this presentation, and I look forward to hearing your responses. Thanks, and have a great day.